Greetings. My name is Morgan Simon and I'm the founder of the Transformative Finance Network. I've spent the last decade working with endowments, foundations, and individuals on impact investment, and over that time I've had the opportunity to really contemplate the meaning of this word impact. And I think we're here because we hope we're having a positive social and environmental impact, but have to remember that the Merriam-Webster definition of the word, to impinge or make contact, especially forcefully, is not necessarily positive or negative, but it's really about how we as imperfect human beings engage with this and really have to be thoughtful about how we're thinking about impact over time. And it's an important time to have this conversation as the impact investment sector is growing. If the JP Morgan projections are anywhere near correct, we'll have $1 trillion going into the sector over the next decade, which would eclipse official development aid by over 5 times, fundamentally changing the way that people globally are engaging in the process of economic development. And this begs a lot of questions around who's going to set the agenda for impact investment. How are we including communities in this process? And I've seen that you can have times where impact investments goes very right, when we have the opportunity to include investors, entrepreneurs, and communities in the conversations, and times that it can go very wrong, where the needs of communities are not considered. So I'm going to go through an example of an impact investment gone right and an impact investment gone wrong, leading towards the transformative finance principles that we've put together to address these issues. So to start telling the story of the Morena Wind Project down in Mexico, that was set to be the largest wind project in all of Latin America, a collaboration between the government, corporate partners, and the Inter-American Development Bank, really hoping for that triple bottom line win of a renewable energy project working in an indigenous community that should have positive social outcomes, and then also producing a solid return for investors. So this was a fantastic story for everyone involved, except eventually for the indigenous communities, who started to put up roadblocks when they discovered that they were getting paid $50 an acre for their land and didn't fully understand the financial ramifications of this action and what it would mean for their ability to farm and live peacefully. And it meant that they started to put out statements like the above. And I can imagine seeing intimidation, hostility, words used in contexts such as oil and gas, but wind energy? I would hope that these would be words that would never be attributed to impact investors. And that's part of their, if we don't have communities incorporated into design from the beginning, that we can have some serious issues. And this led me to really think deeply about some of the challenges that we've had in the sector overall, that investors and entrepreneurs can often profit at the expense of communities if not fully incorporated from the start, that impact winds up being defined by investors rather than coming bottom up, and that there's a lack of opportunities for communities on the ground to be able to engage in the impact investment sector. And as I started to think through these problems, on the other end of that needed to be some solutions, and came up with the transformative finance principles, the idea that we could incorporate communities into the design, governance, and ownership of social enterprise, that we could make sure that we add rather than extract value from the communities in which we work, and that we're able to balance risk and return amongst investors, entrepreneurs, and communities. So these were nice ideas, and then the next question was, would this really work in practice? And I started to look for social enterprises that really were functioning under these values. And I want to take us back to that community in Mexico, where indigenous people came together and realized that they weren't necessarily against wind energy, they were against having outsiders take control of their lands, and started to look into what would it take for them to create their own wind farm. And the answer is that it would take an intrepid social entrepreneur leading the Yansa group, and also about $60 million, which means that this project is still in development and will need a lot to be able to move forward. But the main point of the story is an idea of an entrepreneur really being able to think differently about how communities can take leadership in design, governance, and ownership of their enterprises. Another example is the working world, and you'll see founder Brendan Martin up in the corner here, that has been working with worker-owned enterprises across the country and in Argentina and Nicaragua as well. The people here are the 17 now worker-owners of the New Era windows and doors factories out of Chicago, an opportunity for workers to really grow assets in addition to their jobs. And these are 2 of just 7 examples that we put together in a report on transformative finance principles as a way to be able to introduce people to some of the incredible social entrepreneurs that are really trying to think differently. And we also put together the Transformative Finance Network so that investors, social justice leaders, entrepreneurs, and accelerators can come together to really promote community engagement. We invite you to join us and to learn more on transformfinance.org. Thank you.